What's up guys, this is Anime Crossover. I'm back with the last episode of What If Naruto Was Trained by the Dragon King of the Sea, the end. And if you did enjoy the series, give the series a like, and if you're new to my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more crossover fictions with a twist. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 32 The Mad World. Your Majesty, you can't be serious, said Erza Knightwalker in response to her king's decisions. You want me to negotiate with those filthy fairies? They can't be trusted. Erza begged her king. Enough. Faust yelled, silencing her, and the other personnel flinched. I am your king. You will do as I command, unless you no longer wish to retain your magical powers. He threatened them, commanding them to heed his commands. At a later date, an unknown place in Edolas, Knightwalker was riding on top of her flying monster when she noticed someone on their motorcycle. She forced her motorcycle to crash and land in front of the rider. What the hell? Knightwalker. The rider abruptly came to a halt in front of them, slowing just in time rather than going around her. He removed his helmet, revealing Laxus, the Edolas Laxus. Along with Nightjaeger, I see, this component belongs here, and that one belongs there. Everything is finished there. I only need to get to the machine and reverse the process. Nightjaeger had finished working on a method to reverse the animus process and safeguard the innocent. A big lacrima suddenly began to beep. Please meet me on the outskirts of Lewin. Then Gajiel has some information for me. Nightjaeger reapplied his hood and retrieved his weapons. A stylized bow with blade handles, closed and hidden behind his back. He also strapped his arrows to his back, concealing his weapons beneath his black cloak and his holder over his cloak. He then took a quick glance at the framed picture, which depicted two youngsters playing. He stroked and slid his hand across the photo before replacing it and departing his base. The image depicted a young Naruto and, shockingly, a young Wendy, both of whom were smiling and caked in dirt. Returning with Laxus and Erza, at long last, we meet fairy tale's mightiest warrior, Laxus Dreyar. Erza Knightwalker smiled at the Edolas version of Laxus Dreyar. He was dressed in a black sleeveless vest and brown wristbands. He was dressed in black slacks and brown boots. He wielded a hammer-axe hybrid weapon, the handle of which was belted around his waist. He lacked the lightning scar under his eye and had a solemn expression, unlike his Earthland counterpart. What do you want, fairy hunter? Laxus was already holding his weapon. Erza Knightwalker's face shifted from lighthearted to solemn. You can take your hand off Mjolnir. The king sent me, Knightwalker said, frowning at the sight of such a strong weapon in Laxus's hands. That is a legendary weapon given to their first guild master by the previous king. The strength of thunder, a weapon to be feared. Erza groaned and told him what she had been informed. The king has offered amnesty to your guild in exchange for the capture of a wanted fugitive. Listen to Akame ga kill Asta Dramilich, amnesty. Do you think I'm a fool? Laxus held Mjolnir, lightning flowing about his body through the weapon. Erza drew her own spear, channeling magic through it to match Laxus's ferocity. Come on, give me an excuse. Erza wanted to fight but her weapon was about to charge. Look, I give you my word, and if that isn't enough, His Majesty was gracious enough to write this, Erza said, pulling out a scroll and tossing it to a calmed-down Laxus. When he opened it, his eyes widened. End of Ost. You're telling the truth, he said as he rolled up the scroll and tucked it away for later. Amnesty, and we'll be allowed to remain a guild, taking jobs as we please. He was deep in thought, and while it sounded like a nice offer, he needed to debate it with his guild. I can't give you an answer right now. I need to consult with my guildmates first, and then I can respond. Okay, she said, pulling out another item and tossing it to him. That's a special lacrima where you can communicate with us and inform us of your decision. She climbed on her flying beast, saying one last thing. Do the smart thing and don't end up like your grandfather, Laxus said, but he kept himself back as he saw the wicked woman fly off on the creature. Damn you, Laxus grumbled, his fists tightening. Gramps, what would you do? He wondered, recalling Makarov dying in his arms. I need to go to the guild and tell everyone, Laxus said as he approached his magical vehicle, a motorbike that appeared to have seen better days. He noticed the previous owner's faded initials. How would you react, Naruto? He groaned and rode away on his bike, preparing to discuss an important choice with his guild. Along with Knightwalker, are you sure it's wise? We'll be forgiving their crimes and letting them go scot-free. Erza spoke to King Faust through a communication lacrima. She did not want her target to escape her judgment, but she also took her commands seriously. That guild is of minor importance, but that criminal has broken several laws and has plans for the anima. He could end up destroying all of our plans, and I fear the worst. Faust was losing his wits. Edolas must have magic, or our society will crumble. Even if we have to work with those dark wizards, our survival is all that matters. and don't forget, we have a backup plan in case they don't accept my generous offer." Erza bowed and obeyed her king, turning off her lacrima. "I must say that I hope they do not accept our offer. Otherwise, I'll miss out on my enjoyment." Erza had fun killing countless fairy tale members from the past and actually despised the guild for not abiding by the king's law. They were once the guild that lighted all it touched, but after killing their lord, we dimmed that light. This world need magic. Without it, we will perish. Even if it means becoming a devil to our adversaries, so be it. Edolas will flourish. Returning to Laxus, he came through for us when we needed it. If the guild decides to go ahead with this, then I must do what is best for fairy tale, even if it means breaking the law. Laxus raced his bike over the desert, deep in thought, until he reached a woodland. The forest was thick and gorgeous, making Edolas Fairy Tale's guild hall, a plant-like structure with the fairy tale insignia above the doors, blend in perfectly. Before entering the guild hall, Laxus dismounted his bike and placed it in storage through the guild's back door. He was greeted with the sight of everyone having a good time, much like Earthland's fairy tale. "Hey, it's Laxus," yelled a male member, alerting everyone to Laxus's appearance, and greeting them with a smile. Myra's cheerful smile welcomed him as he approached the bar. "Welcome back, Laxus. I'm glad you're okay," Mira said as she served him his favorite drink in a huge mug. His gloomy demeanor scared her. "What's wrong?" she said, resting her hand on his shoulder. He turned to face her and spoke loudly enough for the entire guild to hear. "The kingdom confronted me and wanted to talk to me," he said, forcing everyone to pause. "What did they want?" Myra's gorgeous face frowned now, and everyone's attention was drawn to her, albeit some were already outraged. "That's right. What did those bastards want?" Lucy in Edolas was a considerably tougher character with the surname Ashley rather than Heartfilia. She frequently targets this world's Natsu because of his timidity. Many fairy tale members are diametrically opposed to their Earthland counterparts. Natsu's surname is Dragian, and he is terrified of practically anything, especially Lucy from this planet. Grey Surge wore layers instead of stripping and was in love with Juvia, who consistently rejected his advances. Elfman is a crybaby who is bullied by Jet and Droy, whereas Ritas is a skinny furious person. Kana acts like a proper lady, whereas Alzak and Biska act like a lovey-dovey pair. Most significantly, Lisanna was still alive and well in this world, with her trademark friendliness. Yes, what did they want? Wendy was different as well, with a more adult appearance and demeanor. She appeared chilly, unlike her nicer counterpart, but her eyes were filled with melancholy. She's still unhappy about what happened to Naruto, and she still has affections for him. Laxus closed his eyes and imagined the young Edolas Naruto and how the blonde considered him as an older brother figure. They took everything away from us, but Wendy grieved the most since she lost the person she loved, Laxus muttered before hardening his features and telling them what had transpired. The person they sent was the fairy hunter. Everyone became terrified at the mention of that name, the same person who had killed many of their companions. "We've been offered amnesty." This astonished everyone. Some couldn't believe it, while others were skeptical. However, in exchange, they want us to bring in Nightjaeger. It made sense now, so he told them about the lacrima they provided him to contact them, as well as the chance that the communication device was a tracker or a trap. No, if it was a trap, she wouldn't have let me go or he would have brought back up, and even she isn't stupid enough to challenge me with Mjolnir. But why would they want him now? They never took him seriously before, so why now? Mira questioned the motivations of their oppressors. "But that doesn't matter now, does it?" she asked, looking down at Laxus. "Please tell me you aren't thinking about it. We can't trust them, Laxus." Grey was the first to speak up in opposition. "Nightjaeger helped us before. If it hadn't been for him, we'd be dead or in prison by now." "That's different. He chose to help us, we never asked for his help." Max was the one who spoke up, and many in the guild agreed with him. Grey did something surprising for those who knew him. He grabbed Max's collar and pulled the suddenly terrified man's face closer to his. "Why, you ungrateful little bastard. We owe that guy our lives, and you want to sell him out to save our own hides?" Laxus interrupted Grey. "Grey, enough." Laxus commanded Grey, who dropped the terrified Max and gave the Edolas doppelganger a look. "I've never seen Grey look like this before. I kind of like it, but I still think he's wrong," Juvia thought to herself, while the guild debated what to do about their problem. Laxus had calmed Grey down for the time being and looked around. "I want all of you to give me your thoughts, and we will vote, and the majority will decide what we will do. I've considered both options, but I cannot decide because both options have merit. This is up to you to decide, and I will follow the will of this guild. I don't want to betray someone who aided my buddies, but it's not my decision. What is there to discuss? We find Nightjaeger, capture him, and hand him over. We'll be a legal guild again. not hunted down by the kingdom. One man, all we need to do is sacrifice one man so that we can survive. Wendy spoke this time. Her comments began to reverberate in their minds, which irritated Gray. I know what we're doing is morally wrong, but we have to think about what's best for Fairy Tail. We've worked hard to keep this guild alive, and now that we have an opportunity, it would be a waste not to take advantage of it. She makes a good point. We'll be able to move freely instead of hiding, Levy said to herself, and others began to listen to Wendy. Only a small minority of them disagreed that self-preservation was the greatest option for them. You guys can't be serious. Even you, Lisanna? Gray asked. Lisanna looked down, guilty, but it told Gray everything he needed to know. What about you? He turned to Juvia, but instead of hopeful eyes, he saw grief. Juvia simply turned aside. Gray bowed his head and accepted the guild's decision. I'm sorry, Gray, but we have to survive, Wendy said as she reached for his shoulder, only to have him swat her hand away. He couldn't look her or anyone else in the eyes, so he just nodded. I'll do it, but I don't like it. This isn't what Fairy Tail is about, he said before heading outside for some fresh air. Master, I wouldn't want this, and neither would Naruto, Gray stated, causing most of the guild to shudder, including Wendy, who spoke to him in a chilly tone. If they were here, they'd do the same thing we're doing. Make sure Fairy Tail lives on, Wendy said, glaring at Gray's back of the head. If that's what you tell yourself to soothe your guilty conscience, then do what you want. Gray walked away, not even pausing to listen to Juvia. He's never ignored Juvia before, this must be hard on him. Warren exclaimed in surprise, with several guild members second-guessing him. Wendy's shoulder was touched by Luce's hand. Are you okay? If you don't want to, you don't have to. Wendy cut her off. I will fight anyone. I've had enough of standing on the sidelines. I believed I'd lost everything once he died. The guild is all I have left in this crazy world, and I'll be damned if someone takes it away from me. Wendy demonstrated determination, but she also maintained her frigid demeanor. I guess I'll contact them and let them know that we'll take on this job, Laxus said, bringing out the communication, which was responded by Knightwalker. Along with Nightjaeger, it's good to see you're still alive. Gajeel, like many Edolas counterparts, wore a hat and suit, but his hair was curlier and he didn't have the metal studs on his face. He also donned glasses and spoke more formally. Gajeel and Nightjaeger exchanged handshakes. Likewise. What did you want to tell me? Gajeel handed Nightjaeger a newspaper instead of a spoken response. He went over the title and contents. They'll be making their move soon then, and there can only be one reason why he wants to make such a big announcement. He's planning on using the anima soon, this time taking a large chunk of Earthland, and he's trying to gain the people's favor by promising them more magical power. And most likely turn you into an enemy of the people. I still can't believe what you showed me the other day. The king wants to turn the people of Earthland into lacrima to fuel his mad lust for power. Why did you trust me with this information? Gajeel was perplexed, because to most, he was a shady informant and journalist, but Nightjaeger regarded him as valuable. Because I know that inside you're a decent person. You've seen the real face of the king and tried to expose him to the people, but the powers that be ruined your reputation, and yet you still have your integrity. You only try to expose those who brainwashed the people. You didn't have a reason to help me when we first met, but you did. That makes you a comrade in my eyes. Together, we can make things right. Focus, Gajeel. The kingdom has placed a bounty on my head, so take this, he said, handing him a communication device. That's a radio with lacrima inside it, enough for 3 days. I'm heading to the royal city, where the anima is held, somewhere inside the palace. Please contact me if you find any information I could use.
Right, Gajeel said as he walked away, leaving Nightjaeger alone. He removed his hood and goggles for a brief moment, revealing Naruto. The Edolas Naruto, his hair similar to his Earthland counterparts, but his eyes more hardened than his alternate selves.
The masses are disillusioned, and innocent people will perish if I don't act. If I have to die in the process, so be it. He had one more thought, picturing Wendy beaming at him. I'm sorry, I wanted to tell you straight away, but the way things are now, it's better if you don't know I'm alive for the time being. He grinned before hardening his face again. If I survive this, I'll tell you how I feel, Naruto said as he pulled his hood over his head after reapplying his goggles. From Edolas Fairy Tail, so, what's the plan? Mira inquired of Laxus as to how they intended to locate Nightjaeger. Laxus pulled out a map to reveal several destinations. They advised me to start with the royal city. The king has a feeling he's going there for some reason, but he's not telling me why, Laxus said, looking around. This could be due to the reason he wants Nightjaeger captured in the first place. The king must be desperate if he wants us to assist in bringing him in, Wendy concluded with Juvia. That doesn't matter right now, Laxus said. turning to the people who were opposed to the notion yet obeyed the guild's will regardless of how they felt. Gray, Wakaba, and Macau are 3 characters. Where is Natsu? I know he was also against it, but he needs to show his support as well. He's gone somewhere, he said. Gajeel called him for something, Gray said, though he was still opposed to the notion. We don't have time, so we'll have to use our teleportation device. Knightwalker told me that the soldiers won't be hostile because we're assisting them, so I'll contact them ahead of time. Levy said. Girl rose up straight. How long will it take us to reach them, and how much power will we have? We'll have enough power to get there, and while it's less consuming because the guild hall used to be there, we also have to consider the distance. We can make 1 trip and back, but it'll take me 15 minutes to set up a proper teleportation without wasting excess magical power, Laxus said, nodding. Then prepare while I notify them of our arrival, Laxus said as everyone readied for their task. Damn it. I'm sorry, Master, but I let you down. Those were Gray's thoughts. I failed you as well, Naruto. You asked me to safeguard the guild you loved, but they lost their path. He looked at Wendy, who appeared to be prepared to do so. If you were still alive, you could have prevented her from making this mistake. I apologize, my friend. Humanity. We're ready to start the teleportation, Laxus, Levy said, preparing to activate the gadget so they could arrive in the royal city in minutes rather than days. We're ready, Levy, Laxus said as the strong girl ignited the gadget, causing the guild to tremble before a white light devoured them and sent them to the royal city. Along with Knightwalker, they'll be expecting me because I know about their intentions. Not to mention that there would very certainly be a bounty on my head, so professional bounty hunters and possibly former wizards are possibilities. Knightwalker grabbed a ride inside a carriage carrying valuable merchandise. As soon as the carriage came to a halt, Knightwalker heard the guard speaking to the driver and stating that they would do some checks on the carriage. As a soldier approached to see what was inside the sacks, he ducked behind some enormous sacks. He overheard the guy complaining about having to perform the dirty work, but he utilized this to his advantage as he jumped the soldier, putting him in a chokehold and preventing his muffled shouts. The soldier went unconscious. Knightwalker removed his cloak and weapons, removing the guard's clothing and placing it on himself. Guard. What's taking so long? And what's that noise? The captain asked, his armor barely fitting him and exposing his belly. Knightwalker hastily stuffed his belongings into a filthy sack filled with rice. Just got startled by a rat, Captain. Knightwalker altered his tone of speech, fooling the men outside. All the sacks are in here, except for one rice bag that has already been ripped open. I believe the rat chewed through it. What do you want me to do with it? Knightwalker had already wrapped up the unconscious body and tucked it beneath the other sacks. Idiot. Dispose of it and make sure the other sacks aren't contaminated, the captain yelled, while the other troops around him relaxed, as did the driver, who received a reprimand from the captain for ensuring that nothing like this happened again. Knightwalker emerged from the carriage disguised as the guard and nodded, taking care not to let the other soldier or the captain see his eyes. I'll just get rid of this, Knightwalker said as the troops let him go. That was simple. He changed out of his military uniform and into his regular clothes, taking to the rooftops and using them as viewpoints while evading the troops. He parkoured through the lower building, avoiding the gazes of the onlookers. Along with Edolas Gajeel. Thank you for coming, Gajeel said as he met Edolas Fairy Tale's Natsu Dragian in a verdant woodland on his own motorcycle. This Natsu was dressed in a red leather jacket with goggles over his eyes. No problem, since you're an old buddy of Naruto's. Natsu looked down briefly, uttering Naruto's name still making him feel guilty. What's you want? Natsu was confident inside his truck and basically demanded a response from Gajeel, despite the fact that it was phrased as a question. I need a ride to the royal city. It doesn't have to be inside the city. The outskirts will suffice, Gajeel inquired of Edolas Fairy Tale's quickest man. Natsu was thinking about it at the time. It'll have to be on the outskirts then, trust me, you don't want to be in the city with what's going to happen, Natsu replied matter-of-factly, his comments piqued Gajeel's interest. And why is that? I knew something horrible was going to happen, it's just like Knightwalker to be unlucky, Gajeel said, remembering countless circumstances where Knightwalker had the odds stacked against him and how he almost got hurt assisting him. The king made us a deal. Long story short, Fairy Tale is now working with the kingdom to take down Knightwalker. Personally, I'm against it, but my guild is a different story. He then noticed Gajeel's horrified and shocked expression. What's the matter? You look like you've seen a ghost. Excuse me, nature's calling. I'll be back in a few minutes, Gajeel said as Natsu blinked repeatedly. What's up with him? Natsu was left alone for a while Gajeel traveled a long distance to contact Knightwalker. I don't want to leave my baby alone, but I have a feeling he's hiding something. Damn, I'm going to regret this, Natsu made sure his vehicle was hidden from prying eyes and followed Gajil's lead. Along with Night Jaeger, a soldier made muffled sounds before Night Jaeger took him out of service. Then Night Jaeger heard his radio buzz. "This is Night Jaeger. What do you want, Gajil?" Night Jaeger spoke to the radio, only to hear Gajil's voice distorted. "Calm down, Gajil, the radio's on the fritz, just tell me what you want and most importantly, tell me calmly." Night Jaeger tweaked his radio and managed to clear the sound. FFFFAAAAIRRYTTAAAAILL. Fairy Tail has joined forces with the kingdom. Gajil's comments surprised Night Jaeger, but he swiftly recovered. "They must be losing faith. I pondered it, but I can't hear it. No, that's not the right term. I really don't want to hear it, but I have to." Night Jaeger paused short and evaluated his choices. "Gajil, I'm sticking to my plan." Returning to Gajil. "What? You can't be serious. There's no way you're going to fight them. I know you, and you're not going to fight Fairy Tail. Are you trying to get yourself killed, Naruto?" Gajil exclaimed a little too loudly. He was surprised to hear rustling from the bushes. Who's there?" Natsu shakily emerged from the bushes, this time without dread, but with disbelief and a smidgen of hope. Did you say Naruto?" Natsu inquired, prompting Gajil to say one word. For a brief period, Edolas Gajil sounded just like his Earthland counterpart. "Shit. Gajil, did something happen? You've stopped talking?" Night Jaeger noticed several guards on his side talking and had to cut them off. "I've got to go, don't worry about me. If I fight anyone from Fairy Tail, I'll make sure not to be too rough with them." When Night Jaeger cut him off, Natsu Dragian did what any Earthlander would do in this situation. He tackled Gajil to the ground and demanded to know what was wrong with him. "Earthland, unidentified temple. You shall all be sacrificed by me," yelled a man with dark silver hair and red eyes, carrying a triple-bladed scythe with 3 girls shackled and gagged in front of him. They were standing on an altar with big staircases on either side. "Cleanse them, Lord Hidan," said Hidan's students, men dressed in tribal garb and wearing skull masks. "Now prepare yourself. I will cleanse your souls." Hidan hoisted his scythe and was about to behead them when the wall was ripped down by a tremendous flood of water, which hit Hidan dead on and sent him flying towards his students, some of whom were killed by the attack. Soon, a person appeared behind the girls, severing their bindings. Naruto walked in, kneeling on one knee and then standing up, carrying a knife. "Yo," Naruto said with his customary glee. "Sorry to interrupt your little ritual, but I'll be taking the girls back to their families now." The captive females were happy to hear this, however Hidan's loud voice drew everyone's attention to him. "Who the hell are you?" Hidan was enveloped in shadows. Naruto's guild mark caught his eye. "You're a wizard, eh? Guess those shitbags hired you to prevent the cleansing of these 3 souls. That guild mark, it's just like that, bitches. My disciples, kill this non-believer," screamed the cultists. "This will only be a moment, go and hide," Naruto said, motioning for the girls to take the stairs down and find cover. Hidan sat back and watched Naruto fight his troops instead of killing the female. "You guys don't kill those girls. They're mine after this non-believer is taken care of. I want to see the despair on their faces when they see their so-called savior is killed. Their cleansing will be so much more enjoyable." This was Hidan's nasty thought. "Can you dig the Iron Man 3 Ost? Everyone, unleash your strongest fire spells and scorch this son of a bitch." One of the cultists exclaimed as 10 of them charged up their magic and unleashed simultaneous fire assaults, combining into one massive blast that totally encompassed Naruto. "Got him." The person giving orders was surprised to see Naruto unharmed, the blonde smirking before hitting the man and knocking him out entirely. "Our fire attacks didn't even faze him, they all rushed him, but Naruto just cracked his neck and went into the onslaught." Naruto caught the larger man's axe, slightly tilting his body as the man missed. Naruto then cocked his right fist back and fired a stunning uppercut that knocked him out. Naruto then turned around and used his magic to deliver a roundhouse kick on 10 more victims. Windblade. A cultist enhanced his curved sword, creating many aerial blades, but Naruto jumped and dodged all of them expertly, even utilizing the last one as a foothold for a fraction of a second. Sea Dragon's Fist. Naruto landed a left hook, forcing the cultist back and forcing him to fly back and take out more goons. Naruto then flipped over others who attempted to assault him from behind. "Decent warm-up, guys, but it's over." Naruto exhaled and unleashed one of his trademark assaults. "Sea Dragon's Roar," Naruto said, then turned to face Hidan. "End of Ost. You actually have some skills. And that magic of yours, Dragon Slayer magic. Water-based one too. I've heard of you, the Great Knight of the Sea, or the new name they gave you, the Swift Dragon." You held back, a lot, I can tell. Hidan was engulfed by darkness once more, as was his sword. Hidan the Black Plague, people told me you were dangerous. Why do you want to kill those girls? Naruto could sense Hidan's dark energy. I wouldn't expect a heathen like you to understand, but what I do is follow the will of Jashin. He demands sacrifices for his blessings, something you will never have. Hidan activated raced Naruto, moving much faster than before, but he was still a snail in comparison to Naruto. Invoke magic. Fairy Tail Ost. Whoops, missed me. Mira said she fought him 2 years ago. He feeds darkness magic into his blade and has the ability to increase cutting strength. He's definitely more difficult than his companions. Naruto dodged to the side as Hidan swung, missing but unleashing a stream of darkness that demolished the wall from the aftershock. He kept repeating his acts, unconcerned about hitting his own followers. Die. 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 Hidan swung like a lunatic, which suited his attitude. Hidan's aftershocks may potentially harm the girls taking cover and even the man's followers, so Naruto purposefully allowed Hidan a chance to swing at him, making sure to doge at the last possible instant while also ensuring that no one was killed by the aftershocks. Hidan's swings are wild and easy to control, but he wrapped his body in darkness, with those shockwaves releasing his evil power. Naruto channeled Dragon Slayer power into his right leg before kicking Hidan into the air. Naruto went quickly behind the insane guy, saying, "Your darkness is a joke." Naruto grabbed Hidan by the sides, easily overcoming the darkness, and pushed both of them to fall down with their heads towards the ground. Naruto turned around after releasing water from his palms. "Sea Dragon's Whirlpool," they yelled, collapsing. End of Ost. That was still too easy. Naruto had knocked out Hidan and seen the females run out to congratulate him, but the temple began to shake, the shockwave having damaged the temple's infrastructure and causing it to collapse. "There's no time to thank me now, girls. We've got to get out of here," Naruto said, picking up all 3 of them, one under his arms and one over his shoulder, and using Dragon Jet to move and return to pick up the fallen cultists. He saved Hidan for last, only for the insane guy to swing his weapon at him, barely standing after slowly rising. "You fool. You should have killed me," swung the beaten man again, only for Naruto to intercept it and destroy the weapon with his own hands. "What? That scythe is composed of a robust alloy that is difficult to break, and he broke it with his bare hands. This cretin, he resisted against me." Hidan was then knocked out as Naruto led them out. "You're not going to die so easily, not until you answer for your sins," Naruto thought as he finished his task. "Another day's work completed. I'll return to the guild after I've taken them to the authorities to check how everyone is doing." "Jaeger, Knight, everybody is in place, Laxus. I told everyone to send up a flare when they spot him." Mira informed Laxus that everything was in place, and the guy nodded in agreement. He took a fleeting glance at Mjolnir and considered what it meant to him. "This is... Master, you can't be serious," said a younger Laxus as he saw the weapon Edolas Makarov was about to offer him. Mjolnir had appeared. I'm not worthy," Laxus said, firmly believing that he did not deserve the legendary weapon. "Your grandfather gave you Mjolnir because he knew you'd do anything to protect the guild, even if it meant doing something he wouldn't approve of. I don't like it any more than you do, but I don't want to lose the only home I know." Mira was disappointed that she had captured an ally, but it did not deter her determination to protect Fairy Tail, so she believed she could do it. "I know." His gaze hardened as he drew his weapon and prepared to begin their mission. "It's for Fairy Tail." "With Wendy's Edolas group. You've been quiet for a while, Wendy. What's wrong?" Juvia said of the evidently upset girl, who appeared to be lost in her own world at the time. "Neither Master nor Naruto would want this," says Naruto. "Would you despise the guild for what we're going to do? Would you hate me?" Wendy was already having second thoughts when Juvia placed a hand on her shoulder. "Are you okay? I know what you're feeling, we all do," Juvia said to the rest of their group, Levi, Alzak, Biska, and finally Gray, though the last person refused to look anyone in the eye. Juvia sighed and walked towards the layered man, grabbing his jacket. "You need to get over it. The guild made this decision together, grow the hell up." Despite his absurd feelings for Juvia, Gray did something unexpected. He grasped the wrist of the arm used to grab his jacket and yanked it off. "When are you going to grow up? I think you're onto something," Gray said as he turned around and began to walk away from the group, which surprised everyone. "Whither are you going?" Juvia was particularly taken aback, saying, "He never acts like this towards me. Just as earlier, he's acting colder. I know this is difficult for him, but it's also difficult for all of us. I'm venturing out on my own. Don't worry, if I discover him, I'll notify you. I'm still a member of this guild, so I'll obey commands for the time being. But right now, I can't stand in front of you people." This guild, this isn't the fairy tale I know. We fought with our hearts and protected those who couldn't fight for themselves. Along with Knight Jaeger, MMPH, Knight Jaeger was already getting closer to the Anima's room and had just dispatched another soldier guarding the royal halls. This is too easy. They must have a trap set up for me up ahead, but I've come too far to back out now. He took out his weapon and prepared to fight. He trod carefully around the halls, suddenly moving to the side as an arrow passed him from behind, exploding upon contact. I knew I'd run into you guys sooner or later. He didn't bother turning around. Max and Warren of Fairy Tale. How did you learn our names? Warren talked cautiously while clutching a spear, while Max carried a crossbow loaded with an explosive projectile. Does it make a difference? I know why you're here to capture me. They were terrified to discover that he knew what they wanted and that he wouldn't hesitate to end them. You get one chance, walk away now or you'll be kissing the dirt. They could feel the man staring into their soul even though his facial features were hidden. We can't do it. Max was shivering but ready to shoot again. Fairy Tale must survive, even if it means taking you out. Max and Warren were ready to attack again, but Knight Jaeger took advantage of their slow reaction, first kicking Max's crossbow away and then grabbing Max, throwing him at Warren, knocking him out before following up on Max and punching him, knocking the crossbow user unconscious. They're focused on self-preservation. Unless I reveal who I am to them, they won't listen to my words. If I reveal my identity, the kingdom will hunt them down again, only this time it will be worse. He gripped his weapon tightly and shook his head. Even if they come to hate me, I can't let people who have nothing to do with this world's problems die. Along with Natsu and Gajeel. What a moron. What makes him have to be so selfless? Natsu was driving recklessly towards the royal city, almost soiling himself. Natsu, calm down. Gajeel didn't want to die young. He must have had reasons for concealing his identity. I should have shut my mouth. I've never seen him angry. Now I wish I hadn't. Gajeel would now prefer that Natsu continued driving. Shit. He closed his eyes, ready for a world of hurt, only for nothing to happen after a few moments. What? Gajeel asked. That's Naruto for you, constantly wanting to accomplish things on his own. But I can't blame him this time, because he's also protecting us despite what occurred. Natsu's statement piqued the journalist's interest. So, you realized his motivations? Yes. He understood that if he fought using his own name, the king's men would go for your guild far more ruthlessly than before, probably wouldn't stop until you were tortured and executed. Gajeel expressed the cold hard truth. I knew it. We're pathetic, he's risking his life for us and even people he doesn't know, while we just run and hide. Master would be disappointed at what we've become. He gripped his steering wheel and turned back to Gajeel. I have some paint, knowing Naruto, he can hold out a little while longer.
Listen to the fairy tale Ost Hagain no Hakunetsuzan. Why is he painting at this time? Gajeel was taken aback by Natsu's timing, his face contorted in amusement.
I want to assist Naruto, but I also want to safeguard Fairy Tale. It's a good thing I always keep paint in the back of my ride in case the paint job gets ruined. His words surprised Gajeel, and he realized what Natsu was doing minutes later. He's painting over the Fairy Tale symbol. He's doing the same thing as Naruto. When he saw Natsu return to the truck, his confident grin reappeared as Gajeel strapped himself back in. He's just like Naruto, they're two peas in a pod. Come on, I'm all pumped. Natsu cranked the engine and blasted out at full throttle. Ost concludes and returns to the royal palace. Knight Jaeger had encountered more guards, this time Hughes, Byro, and some more Fairy Tale members, and had already taken care of them, with Ritas, Jet, and Droy imprisoned in a net. His arrows have been rigged. We had no idea he had a net in them. Ritas was not happy with his situation, especially because he was wedged between Jet and Droy, who were also not happy. Along with Knight Jaeger, sorry guys, but I can't hold back. Once this is all over, I hope you guys can forgive me. Knight Jaeger had no injuries from his fight with some of his former guild mates. He came to a halt as his next opponent was a single opponent. You're big for an exceed. Knight Jaeger stared down Panther Lily. Panther Lily, a proud warrior holding his sword, said, "You're not the first to say that. You will be subjected to my blade for that," Panther Lily said, drawing his greatsword. Who are his people? Aren't they also your people? I mean, do you live here as well, or are you like every other arrogant exceed who believes they are above everyone? Knight Jaeger tried to get information. I'm not like those pitiful cats with wings, he said, taking a sword stance. I swear loyalty to this kingdom, to my king, and to no one else. Panther Lily from Edolas kingdom here. Knight Jaeger assumed his own posture, his arrow ready. Panther Lily, one of the king's greatest warriors, with his stature and build, he's a power-type fighter, but as an exceed, he also possesses great speed, and because he's a fighter, His speed is greater than most. I have to time my attacks and dodges right if I want to beat him. Knight Jaeger tensed for a moment before recomposing himself and charging each other. Listen to Fairy Tale Ost Panther Lily. Lily closed the gap and swung at Knight Jaeger, who had leapt up and was over the exceed. He pulled his bow back and then launched 3 arrows at Lily, who was quick to react and blocked with his buster marm, only for the arrows to explode upon contact. These explosives are much more potent than those arrows Max used earlier. Not bad for non-magic arrows. His musing was interrupted by Lily, who remained unscathed. Knight Jaeger sacrificed his cloak but kept his regular hood to protect his identity. Lily slashed the cloak and landed a punch, which caused Knight Jaeger to cross his arms to minimize the damage and was sent flying back. Most men would break a rib or two, but he was easily able to counter, Lily thought amusingly as she began to overpower the former fairy tale wizard. Knight Jaeger anticipated this and used his legs to kick Lily's left leg, causing Lily to wobble and using the momentum to slide past the large exceed. Take it. Knight Jaeger fired another arrow, this time striking Lily's legs and exploding into a gooey substance, causing Lily to struggle, unable to turn himself around and becoming stuck in place. Don't bother, that substance will prevent you from moving from that area. You'll be stuck for at least 10 minutes, but I'll have left by then. Don't bet on it. A familiar voice startled Knight Jaeger, and he was blasted back by lightning and fell through the palace walls, dropping out of the palace. Laxus appeared with Mirajane and Mjolnir, pointing to the direction Knight was blasted off to. End of Ost. Do you believe that killed him? Mira worriedly asked. Despite the fact that they were pursuing Knight Jaeger, they weren't killers, especially since the guy they were hunting assisted them. No, Lily replied, he's a fighter. Otherwise, he wouldn't have lasted so long against our kingdom. You two go after him, I'll join the hunt once I'm free, he said, seeing Lily's condition. From outside the palace, Knight Jaeger's bow was split in 2 by the blast, and he used one blade to slide down the wall. Knight Jaeger noticed guards below him, but they hadn't noticed him yet. Damn. They'll alert every guard in the palace any moment now. I'll have to escape and find another way in. He was right as the bells rang, forcing the guards to go on alert. I have to get out now. Knight Jaeger jumped down, landing on 2 guards and knocking them out in the process. The rest of the guards in the courtyard turned their weapons towards him, but he used a smoke bomb to hinder their vision. Halt. More soldiers arrived, but Knight Jaeger was unafraid and pulled out one of his arrows, throwing it on the ground in front of them, causing an explosion. I need to get away, and the city roofs are my best chance right now, he said as he ran towards the city. In an alleyway, with Edolas Grey. I hope I don't run into him. I'd rather not fight him. He helped us out when we were in trouble, and we're returning him by aiding the folks who may want him dead. Grey was interrupted by a call from one of his guild friends. Listen to Assassin's Creed II's Ost Venice rooftops. Grey. He's on his way to you. Grey turned around, only to see Knight Jaeger dash towards him, and he braced himself, but the vigilante startled him by performing a wall run, entirely evading Grey. Grey spun around and used his magic weapon, a naginata, to say, have a taste of this. Grey was about to stab the blade into the ground when he noticed Knight Jaeger had lodged his blade to the wall and used it as a perch. Grey's weapon touched the ground as the ground was now covered in ice. Knight Jaeger jumped back down with his blade dislodged, using it as a board to slide down the ice trail. While the fairy tale group looked on in awe, Grey was not suspicious. He knew about my weapon's ice abilities. You're a jerk, Grey. When Grey's comrades tripped due to the ice flooring Grey created, Grey only giggled uncomfortably, and Knight Jaeger was out of sight. Along with Knight Jaeger, it's a good thing that I knew about Grey's weapon. Knight Jaeger then looked around his surroundings after getting out of the icy area. Better take to the rooftops. He used both blades to climb the wall and take to the rooftops. Better watch out for any snipers or aerial fighters. Knight Jaeger made his move and attempted to flee the city, going through rooftop to rooftop until a beam passed in front of him made him wobble. What the? He regained his balance and saw that more fairy tale members arrived, this time they had Bisco with them. Damn, they already found me. He moved quicker and avoided multiple shots from the guild's ranged fighters. They're planning something, they aren't using their more explosive attacks. If I can outrun their attacks, they'll run out of ammo soon. He was right as they all stopped shooting, with some of them cursing their luck. He managed to make it to a higher ground. Nice try, but I'm too goo. Suddenly he was blasted with lightning shot the surface of where Knight Jaeger was standing, breaking his footing. Shit. He quickly took out one of his blades and lodged it to the wall, sliding down, but due to its damaged form, it broke into 2 and Knight Jaeger landed harshly, though he remained mostly unharmed apart from some bruises. Damn it. The lightning again, Laxus, you bastard. He got up but winced as his right ankle was twisted. Oh great, this is going to hurt. He grabbed his foot and twisted his foot back in place, hissing in pain. He looked around to see that the building was abandoned. Just goes to show that those in power don't care about the people at all and are only concerned with themselves. What do you think you're going to do? A female voice stopped him from moving as he heard guns cocking. He slowly turned around to see the one person he didn't want to see right now. Wendy stood with her tonfa blasters, ready to blast Knight Jaeger if he moved. Come quietly, otherwise those injuries will be the least of your problems. Knight Jaeger reached for a smoke bomb, only for Laxus to appear behind him, surrounded by electricity. You're surrounded. More fairy tale wizards arrived, with Knight Jaeger spotting the members he had defeated previously. He gave up by raising his hands. Resuming with Edolas, Natsu and Gajeel. Wait until I give my signal, Gajeel said as they approached the outskirts. Gajeel told Natsu that he would signal him with a spare radio Naruto had given him. The journalist abandoned the fastest guy in Edolas fairy tale, who utilized camouflage to conceal his vehicle from prying eyes. Returning with Knight Jaeger. So, this is the mighty Knight Jaeger? Erza asked as troops surrounded the handcuffed Knight Jaeger. Fairy Tail was observing him as well, along with a crowd of civilians. One of them was Gajeel. Oh no. Gajeel expected something like this to happen and didn't want to call Natsu in case he inadvertently ran over someone. Let's see who you really are, Erza said, ripping off his goggles and noticing his blue eyes. Ooh, you have beautiful eyes, Fairy Tail remarked, not amused that someone who had aided them was likely to be arrested. Erza then did what everyone had been waiting for. She removed his hood, shocking everyone, even herself. Naruto's true identity was disclosed to his previous guild. And Naruto? Wendy's hands were covering her mouth in surprise. Why, you're alive, she said, her tears revealing another feeling, delight. The person she loved was still alive, and her guildmates, none more so than Laxus, had similar thoughts. Gray appears shocked from a corner. He's still alive. Gray understood exactly what he had to do. When the opportunity arrived, he would assist his companion in fleeing. This is surprising, but it makes sense now that you are a fairy tale wizard. King Faust sat on his throne, flanked by his commanders, Laxus and Naruto, and 2 guards, one on each side, ready to strike if he attempted to flee. Faust focused his attention on Laxus. This reflects poorly on you because he is one of your people and committed crimes against the kingdom. Do you have any words before I sentence you and your guild? Hee hee. Naruto chuckled as everyone turned their attention to him. Ha 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 ha. His laughter began reverberating. The people outside the throne room heard him. You're pathetic, blaming Fairy Tail for the problems I caused. Quiet you. One of the guards went to strike him for his remark, but the king stopped him by raising his hand. Then tell me, young man, whom should I blame? Faust remained calm for the time being. Is he implying that Fairy Tail is unaware of my plans? I need to examine this young man's head for answers. Isn't it obvious? I thought you were supposed to be smart? Me, of course, I've been acting on my own volition. He maintained a grim demeanor before turning his head to stare at Laxus. I'm no longer a member of the guild, Naruto said coldly, making Laxus shudder as he turned back to face the king. The only reason I hid my identity was so you wouldn't associate me with that guild full of cowards. My actions are my own, and they have no knowledge of what I've done or any of my secrets, he grinned. Or those of yours, your majesty, Faust said, with the majority of his crew, save Lily, imitating his movements. Does he speak the truth? Faust inquired of Laxus, who looked at Naruto with bewilderment. His eyes. Laxus noticed Naruto's face, and while he was frowning, his eyes were filled with agony. He still cares about us. He's giving us a chance to be free, Laxus said as he strengthened his grip on Mjolnir. Don't force me to do this. You, too, are a part of Fairy Tail. Even though you abandoned us. Laxus's anxiety made the commanders suspicious of him and led them to believe that what Naruto stated was a lie. Don't take pity on me now, Dreyar. It'll end up biting you in the ass like it did me. I took pity on you, and now here I am, captured. He then faced the king. I only helped them out because I was a sentimental fool, but I'm guessing you promised them something in exchange for their help in capturing me, am I right? If you're willing to go back on your word, doesn't that make you untrustworthy? I mean, I might not be a part of Fairy Tail anymore, but they did your dirty work for you. Some civilians saw my capture by their hands, and word has most likely spread. He has me. Very well, Laxus Dreyar, you and your guild, I grant you amnesty for your service in capturing this criminal. Lily, take Fairy Tail too and give them their reward. Commander Erza, take this criminal to the cells. Faust delivered his verdict, and Laxus was escorted out by Lily, with Erza roughly escorting Naruto and pointing her weapon at him in case he tried to flee. along with the vast majority of Edolas fairy tale. The fairy tale wizards were compelled to wait outside the throne room. The doors swung open, revealing Laxus and Lily. Wendy was more concerned about Naruto and was ready to request him, only for Naruto to appear with Erza following him. "Naruto!" Wendy exclaimed, but Laxus stopped her by seizing her arm. "What are you doing?" "Naruto's right there." She noticed that Laxus wasn't looking at her and turned to face Naruto. His hands were shackled, and he appeared to be avoiding her eyes. "We're leaving," Laxus said authoritatively to his guildmates, letting Wendy go. "Anyone who refuses will be left behind." He astonished everyone in his guild, especially Wendy. "But Naruto is..." Wendy's words was cut off as Naruto spoke. "Don't bother." He never glanced up at her, merely said those words to her. "I'm a wanted criminal whom you chose to bring in. My real name is Naruto Namikaze, but to everyone else in this kingdom, I am the Night Jaeger." His words began to reach them, yet everyone felt horrible for bringing him in. "Besides," they said, looking up at him. "I am no longer a member of Fairy Tail," he said, and their emotions varied, with Wendy taking a step back, as if struck. "Now, Nightwalker, do you want to continue your job or do you want to take myself to my cell?" he said as Erza's grin faded and she looked ready to kill him there. "Don't even think about it, Erza. We need him alive," Lily said, averting the death of someone with information that the king requires. Erza simply huffed angrily and drew her weapon. She resumed accompanying Naruto to his cell, when Naruto approached Wendy and whispered into her ear. What?" Wendy burst into sobs and collapsed on her knees. The female wizards hurried to her, while the males scowled at Naruto, who kept a serious demeanor, but no one noticed him holding his fist save Gray. "Are you okay?" Lucy asked Wendy, but then shifted her gaze to Naruto's back before returning to her tearful companion. "I'll take you to get your reward," Lily said, understanding that they had their own issues. "Do you need some alone time?" he inquired of Fairy Tail's current commander, but Laxus shook his head and stated that they would be alright. "Come on Wendy, let's go," Juvia urged to the sobbing young lady. Wendy wiped her tears away and stood up as the Fairy Tail Guild left after getting their reward. They proceeded to receive their reward. Along with Naruto, "I hope you find this cell comfortable, because this will be your home for the rest of your life unless His Majesty decides to execute you for your crimes," Erza said with a sly grin. "If he's stubborn, I could get a chance to torment him. You're awfully confident now that I'm in this cell. How about you free me from my chains and let me out of here, then I'll wipe that disgusting look off your face," Erza said as she turned away from him. "I saw the expression in her eye. She's murderous," says the witness. "I'll return with Edolas Fairy Tail later." Fairy Tail had arrived in the royal city, but they were not in a good mood. Some members were enraged, some were depressed, and yet others were really disturbed. Gray wanted to say something, but he didn't want to upset anyone more than they already were, despite his opposition to catching Night Jaeger before it was revealed to them to be Naruto. Natsu suddenly kicked open the doors. He was panting profusely. "Natsu." Lucy was overjoyed to see him and went to hug him before employing one of her personal torture ways on him. He did something unexpected. He fixed his gaze on her. Everyone in the guild gazed at him as she flinched and came to a halt. "Natsu, what's wrong?" Mira inquired, concerned. "He's never angry, and this is the first time he's given us that terrible look." "Wait, is he aware?" She was terrified of the answer. "What did you guys do?" "You guys gave them Naruto." His remarks made everyone flinch, even those who didn't want to bring him in at first. "What the hell guys? He's one of us, you basically sold him out to save yourself." "I almost did, but luckily I discovered his true identity. That guy isn't a part of Fairy Tail anymore. He betrayed us and made Wendy cry." Lucy defended them. Gray and Laxus clenched their knuckles, and Wendy flinched. "You think he betrayed us? Then why did he help us out when he didn't have to? He could have left us to die but didn't." Natsu was feeling courageous, or rather angry enough to stand up to Lucy of all people. "That doesn't excuse what he did to Wendy," Juvia said, only for Wendy to rise up and confess something. Wendy defended Naruto, saying, "He didn't do anything to me. I was crying because of my stupid mistake, and he told me something important." She was ashamed that she was one of the reasons Naruto was in a jail and away from her embrace. "What did he say to you?" Mira asked, concerned. Wendy's concern turned to dread as she peered down. "He told you that he loves you, didn't he?" Mira's words resonated as everyone turned slowly to Wendy, who shed a tear and sniffled. Mira dashed over to embrace her. The guild gave the information time to sink in. "Not only did we sell out someone who assisted, but we also sold out someone from our guild." Juvia stared at Gray, but he couldn't look at her the same way he used to. "We betrayed our own, and now he's separated from the person he loves more than anything else in the world. We let our fear consume us. She wanted to cry but was stopped by someone else speaking. Then let's go back and save him. We still have a chance to make things right. Gray agreed with Natsu. Some of their guildmates, particularly Wendy, wanted this to happen as well. No, Laxus said authoritatively, speaking before anybody else could. We decided to capture Naruto in exchange for amnesty. If we go there now, we'll most likely be captured, and our guild hall is now easily accessible to them, he explained. I understand how everyone feels. I wish I could save him, but I can't. I promised to protect Fairy Tail, and that is my top priority. You can't be serious. Natsu couldn't look at Laxus the same way after that. He's our friend. You even considered him your little brother. Laxus scowled at Edolas, Fairy Tail's quickest man. That's true, but I can't imagine sacrificing this guild for one person, he said, turning to face each of them. No one from Fairy Tail is to go rescue. Anyone who tries will be excommunicated from the guild. He laid the bomb on them, making them reconsider. Then consider this my resignation. Gray did something unusual, at least for the Edolas version of him. He removed his layered coats and obliterated his guild mark. Natsu followed in his footsteps and erased his. Now you won't have a problem, he said as he put on his coat again and went with Natsu, leaving a bewildered guild. What have we turned into? This isn't the Fairy Tail I remember. Wendy was terrified. She loved Fairy Tail, but she also loved the guy they gave to the kingdom. I need to do something. She resolved to find a method to assist Naruto, even if it meant leaving the guild she adored. She remembered exactly what Naruto had said to her. I'm sorry, but this is the only way I can protect you right now, but know that I have and will always love you with all of my being. Wendy and her kitty buddy walked through the rain using an umbrella. They have just returned from Fairy Hills after finishing their grocery shopping. I still don't see why you want to cook that ruffian ramen. Besides, Mira usually cooks it for him at the guild. Carla was suspicious of Wendy's motives and already had an idea why she wanted to make Naruto ramen. Don't tell me she didn't get a chance as Wendy yelled angrily at her. I told you it's not like that, she exclaimed, blushing at Carla's suggestion. He helped us out, and I just wanted to thank him, that's all. She blushed as Carla didn't believe her. Sure, whatever you say. She's fallen for him, I guess she could do worse. Carla seen Wendy come to a halt and look down a masked man, later revealed to be Mistogen. Carla drew her claws, concerned about Wendy's safety. Is he a foe? I'm sorry, but do I know you? He feels familiar, but I haven't seen him before, that much I know. Wendy was cautious and took a little step back as she realized why his voice seemed familiar. Wait, that voice, I recognize it, Carla cautioned. It's good to see you again, Wendy, and I'm glad you're okay, he said, surprising her with his knowledge of her name. I wish it had been under better circumstances, Mistogen said as he removed his mask and head cover, revealing his genuine face. Carla stood defensively in front of Wendy after she dropped her umbrella. Jelal. Both were taken aback when they saw the man in front of them who had joined forces with dark guilds. Jelal, on the other hand, had a sorrowful expression. I thought you left with that woman during our battle with the Oracion Cease. Carla was cautious around him, which perplexed Jelal until he remembered the story about Fairy Tail conquering the Oracion Cease in the entire Nirvana event. That was a different man, I am Jelal, but not the one you met during your mission. When I first came to this world, I didn't know much, so I told you my name was Jelal. Here, I am Mistogen, S-class wizard of Fairy Tail. I'm sorry I left you alone. I wish I could have taken you with me. Wendy's eyes widened as she remembered the day Jelal abandoned her with Master Rubal. Why you're him. You're the Jelal who saved me. Wendy burst into tears as she raced up to Jelal and hugged him. Why you came back, she said as he patted the top of her head, her tears mingling with the raindrops. Do you expect me to believe that you're a different person from our mission? I'm not buying it. Carla didn't trust the person in front of them, yet Jelal recognized her feelings for him. I understand why you are wary of me, but I don't have much time to explain what's going on. I can tell you that I am an ally, that I know of your origins, that you're from Edolas, Jelal said, shocking Carla, who wanted to know how he knew about Edolas. Time is of the essence. Magnolia could vanish at any moment. You must flee, get out of here while you still have the chance. Disappear. What do you mean by that? Wendy was perplexed by Jalal's meaning. What about the guild? Jelal asked, turning away from Wendy. Unfortunately, it is too late for them. They will be apprehended soon, Jelal explained to Wendy. You're not making any sense. What's going to happen to the guild? Wendy was furious because she had already lost her former guild and she didn't want to lose her new one. As the rain ceased around Magnolia Town, she noticed something peculiar in the air. What's going on? She noticed light spheres emerge from the earth slowly at first, then accelerate. The Aethernano is absorbing into the sky. Wendy noticed a rift absorbing a Thernano from the environment. This is why you need to get out of here. That rift is caused by an anima, which steals magic power from the environment and turns it into lacrima, Jelal said, taking out his staves and making hand gestures. The staves conjured a golden magic circle and fired a blast that sealed the split. You must leave. There will be nothing left here. Forget about the guild for now, Jelal said, and Wendy hurried towards the guild instead. Oh no. She's on her way to the guild. Carla pursued Wendy. Jelal sighed in disappointment. She definitely has the spirit of a fairy tale wizard, he thought as the rain began to fall again. Perhaps that's what we need. Dragon Slayer magic is unique in Edolas, and I could tell her magic was still inside her body rather than being taken by the rift. Suddenly, he heard footsteps in the splashes they made, and he turned to see the person behind him, a horrified expression on that person's face. Jelal. Naruto had arrived, his face flushed with wrath. You bastard. Naruto had already covered the gap and caught Jelal by the fabric, only for Jelal to break free and get behind Naruto, squeezing him into a full Nelson grip. This won't hold me. Naruto used his strength to break through, forcing Jelal to back up. Wait, Naruto. I'm a different Jelal. Naruto ignored Jelal and prepared to unleash his abilities. That's enough, Naruto. A familiar voice intervened, preventing Naruto from venting his fury on Jelal. He turned to the side, and Jelal turned to view their guildmaster, who had a displeased expression on his face. Master. Gramps. Naruto looked at Jelal as soon as he called Makarov master. He addressed Gramps as master, Naruto thought, until he remembered what Natsu and Erza had told him. With a humorous grin, he struck his right fist on his open palm. Ah, you're Mistogen. Erza and Natsu mentioned seeing your face when Laxus was trying to take over the guild. He chuckled, scratching his cheek with his finger. I'm sorry for attacking you, it was my fault, he said, making the two sigh. For the time being, forget Naruto's stupidity, Makarov remarked, as Naruto gave the elderly man a look. I felt it earlier, it seems those rifts started appearing more frequently. Your old man is getting desperate. Naruto was perplexed, but they disregarded him for the time being. Yes, I'm afraid it's too late for the city right now. I can't stop the anima from taking them, Jelal stated, tearing Makarov's heart, but he grasped what he said. Do you mean there's a way to save everyone even after they've been absorbed and turned into lacrima? Makarov was taken aback, but it gave him hope. Naruto became even more perplexed and couldn't stand being left out any longer. Can someone please explain to me what the hell is going on? His voice finally reached them, and they moaned. You have a right to know. In fact, we need your power, the power of a dragon, to save the people of Magnolia and Fairy Tale. Jelal began to explain the problem. Dungeons of Edolas. Ah. Naruto screamed in agony as a little knife pierced the side of his stomach. Erza was twisting it, gleefully reveling in his sorrow and pain. Naruto was already wounded and bruised, with numerous cuts and bruises. Come on. Break. Erza desired to fully break Naruto's will and subjugate him to her. Instead of begging, Naruto spit on her face, which enraged her to the point that she kicked his side and broke the hook on the ceiling that secured the chains, forcing Naruto to fall to the ground. You're tenacious, but I'm curious what would happen if you lost what made you a man. Erza drew the dagger from Naruto's side and pointed it at him. That's enough, Knightwalker. Erza grimaced at the person who was interfering with her enjoyment. Lily had grasped her wrist and yanked it away from Naruto. You won't break him. He's too strong for the likes of you, Lily said, infuriating Knightwalker even more. He released her wrist and settled for a stare. Fine, but I'll inform the king, Erza said as she turned and walked away. Lily, your usefulness is dwindling, and you will soon join your kind in extinction. It's also a shame because he was a fantastic sparring partner. That woman is becoming more sadistic by the minute, Lily observed before returning Naruto to his cell. Lily offered Naruto some ointment and bandages as soon as he was placed in his cell. That'll help numb the pain and help with your cuts, Lily said, motioning for him to depart, but Naruto interrogated him. So, you're doing this out of kindness in your heart? Naruto answered sarcastically, yet growled in pain. Lily's demeanor remained unchanged as he glanced at the injured man. It's up to you whether or not you want to use them. I'm only providing that ointment out of respect for you. Naruto chuckled till he coughed from the pain of his injuries. I'm serious, despite being enemies, I respect that you were able to fight the kingdom for this long and abandoned your guild to fight us alone. That Knightwalker wants to break you, but I know your type, torture won't work on you. No, even if your body breaks, you possess spirit, young one, Lily said before leaving. Thanks, I guess not all of you guys are bad. Lily nodded once at Naruto's remarks and would have left again if Naruto hadn't interrogated him. Let me ask you this, the king's journal mentioned his plans with Extalia. Are you okay with that? Letting the king turn your entire race into lacrima to sat his mad lust for power and turn your home into ruins? Naruto grabbed the blonde by the neck and made her beg for precious oxygen, the enraged Lily glaring at him. Extalia is not my home. Lily pressed Naruto's face against his. I may respect you, but I'm not above putting you in your place if you step out of line. He dropped Naruto, who gasped and inhaled oxygen. Your meal will arrive in an hour, so get yourself cleaned up before then. Lily had left, leaving Naruto alone. Panther Lily. Your eyes reminded me of mine when I felt abandoned by Fairy Tail. Has your home betrayed you? Naruto looked about his surroundings and noticed that nothing, not even a curiously large mirror in the corner, could help him escape just now. Perhaps they'll hand me a spoon or something. That way, I can dig my way out and use that mirror to hide everything. Naruto joked. The mirror is odd. Don't tell me someone used it to flee. That would be too convenient. Naruto had to drag himself towards the mirror and move it to see if there was any hole or tunnel leading to his escape. That only happens in movies, she says. Jaeger's Night Base. Did Naruto make all this stuff? It's like that comic with the superhero who dresses up like a bat. Gray looked around and couldn't help but compare it to the cave of a well-known comic book hero. Nah. Naruto looked like that guy who used bows like Robin Hood, except he wasn't green, Natsu said with a less bashful tone than they were used to. Gajeel told them to concentrate and gather the tools they needed to defeat Naruto. That is, until he saw something that made him giddy. Oh my. Those are Naruto's prototype web shooters, the other two exclaimed. Are we sure Naruto didn't get his ideas from comic books? Gray asked, breaking the fourth wall somewhat. Is that a leotard? Gray asked, noticing one of Naruto's costumes, a bodysuit. How on earth does he pee in this thing? Don't ask me. He doesn't tell me much about his design choices. Despite his earlier outburst, Gajeel needed to refocus their group. They looked about for anything that could be used to help their ally. He is the hero we deserve, and I will see to it. Don't worry, friend, we'll come to your rescue. Not just for your sake, but for the one who misses you the most. A mental image of Wendy came. I may be weak and spineless, but if I do one decent thing in this world, it will be to save my friend. Natsu was gradually becoming more like his Earthland counterpart. Along with King Faust, more power, and take everything this time, Faust commanded, reactivating the anima. Returning to Magnolia with Wendy. This sensation is returning. Wendy looked up at the sky and noticed rifts. It's the guild. Wendy was standing just in front of the guild when a blinding light engulfed everything in its path. Wendy opened her eyes moments later to see everything transformed into a cloud-like wasteland, the guild gone, causing Wendy to collapse to her knees in anguish. Wendy. Are you okay? Carla inquired, concerned about her buddy. Wendy sprang up and hugged Carla as soon as she heard her feline companion. Wendy was crying, so she asked, what are you doing? They're gone. Wendy didn't have to explain who because it was evident given their current situation. I just joined Fairy Tail and now I had them, just like Kate Shelter. Wendy suddenly heard rustling and stopped crying, staring at the clouded ground, only to see a familiar mop of pink hair burst through until Natsu emerged completely, followed by Happy. Natsu. And Happy, too. Wendy was relieved to see them and was going to interrogate them when the two dragon slayers heard something fall from the sky. Is that a clock? Carla inquired, only for Natsu and Happy to realize that it wasn't. Horologium was Lucy's celestial spirit. Wendy noticed Lucy inside as he landed between them. Lucy. Wendy was relieved to find that another of her friends was still alive. The celestial spirit wizard emerged and greeted the others, but he was perplexed as to what had occurred here. Wendy described how she met Mistogen and how he was the Jelal who assisted her. I'll explain everything after we get to Edolas, Naruto said, turning everyone's heads to see him carrying something in his palm. Wendy came up to him and hugged him before he could say anything else. I'm so glad you're okay. Naruto returned her hug, and they both smiled as they parted ways. That was until Lucy fake coughed and smirked, and Happy suppressed a laugh. Natsu also gave them an odd look, and Carla had an irritated grimace. The two dragon slayers were blushing as they separated. It's always entertaining to see you lovebirds embarrass yourselves. Kurama was between the two dragon slayers' legs, startling and making them jump. They both cooled down, with Naruto feeling irritated at Kurama's quick presence. How are you even here? Why weren't you absorbed by the anima thingy Mistogen mentioned? This drew everyone's attention to Naruto, which he didn't mind. That's what I wanted to explain, but right now we need to leave using this thing Mistogen gave me, Naruto said, holding up a yellow diamond. This will help us get to Edolas, where all our friends were taken, Naruto said as a gap emerged in the sky. What are you, Naruto? Wendy was speechless as Naruto ran and sprang up, being drawn into the rift. The remaining fairy tale wizards exchanged glances before following him. Edolas prison, corridor. You're too soft-hearted for your own good, Lily, and I fear your actions will have disastrous consequences that will derail our plans for the kingdom. Faust was taken to Naruto's cell by Lily and some guards. They were startled when they arrived through the lower levels by the soldier guarding Naruto's cell, who began swinging his broken halberd violently. Where are you, Knight J. Jaeger? The soldier asked, his eyes closed. Lily deflected his ferocious assault by seizing his sword. The guard recognized Panther Lily's voice and dropped his rifle, honoring him. See Commander Panther Lily, yes sir. He exhaled and coughed, collapsing to his knees. As she walked down the lower hallway, Lily directed guards to transport the injured person and king to a safer location. This guy's uniform seems tight on him. He must have gotten the wrong size, one of the soldiers said as the others marched on. The guard was unaware that the injured guard had opened his eyes to display blue pupils. Along with Lily, I need to make sure he hasn't escaped from the prison, and if he has, he can't have gone very far with his injuries, Panther Lily said as she entered Naruto's cell, only to find a chained-up man in his underpants. Lily looked around and noticed that the cell bars were broken. He noticed the ointment container he handed Naruto was broken and turned to view the bound man, more notably his eyes. He must have deceived the guard into opening the cage, used the ointment to blind him, knock him unconscious, and then utilized this guy's magical weapon to free himself from the chains. But wait, what does that mean? Lily dashed back to where the king and his guards were going. He noticed with his helmet cracked open, allowing Lily to know it wasn't Naruto. He escaped. Damn you! Lily screamed as his voice resonated down the corridors. Naruto had already made his way to the courtyard where military soldiers train and which led to the city, unbeknownst to him. With the help of Earthland fairy tale wizards. Where are we? They all said, taking in their unfamiliar surroundings. Happy inquired, where did you bring us, Naruto? Another world. According to Mistogen, he called it Edolas. He was born here, according to what he told me, Naruto said, looking at Happy and Carla. He also told me that you two aren't really cats, but rather creatures born in Edolas. However, I can't remember the name of your species. I don't expect much from a ruffian like you, so it's no surprise you don't know what my race's name is. Carla spoke with her typical demeanor. My race's name is Exceed, and while we may resemble the creatures you know as cats, we're far superior to those hairballs. She returned her attention to the others when she noticed Happy scratching his backside. Most of us, at least. Wait, did you already know you were born here? Wendy knelt next to Carla. Did you know, too, Happy? She cocked her head in the direction of Happy. She returned her focus to Carla when Happy shook his head and responded, I don't know. Then how do you know Carla? For whatever reason, Happy is unaware of Edolas. Alternatively, our mission. The last part she muttered, but the Dragon Slayers heard it because of their increased hearing. What's this business about a mission? Carla cursed herself for forgetting about the Dragon Slayer's skills as Naruto questioned her. None of your business. Carla was being particularly cruel and leapt at Naruto. Naruto had grabbed her by the tail and scowled as she tried to scratch at him as she flailed around. You should give up the kitten. He won't be content unless he gets a right response, and believe me when I tell you can't win. Kurama yawned and informed her. He once beat a guy by talking him to death, and he won without hitting him at all. Seriously? Lucy and Wendy questioned Natsu and Happy, and to their amazement, they nodded. I haven't met any other Exceeds in Earthland, but as eggs, we were sent with a secret mission that would benefit our homeland greatly. She gazed at Wendy, but this time her face was filled with remorse and hurt rather than a severe expression or staring features. Our mission was to find the Dragon Slayers and kill them. Fairy Tale Dragon King Ost. What? Wendy was the first to speak up because everyone was stunned, save for Kurama, who was analyzing the issue. Natsu was skeptical, and Kurama suspected there was more to it. Happy's reaction, on the other hand, was the worst because he was in denial. Why, you're joking, Carla, aren't you? I mean, I'd never try to harm Natsu because he's my best buddy. Happy was now perched on Natsu's shoulder, with someone patting his head. End of Ost. I wish I could be, but I'm afraid it's the truth. I was intended to murder Wendy, but I couldn't because she's a friend of mine. Carla couldn't bear looking at Wendy. Wendy, I'm sorry you had to find out his way. But I just want you to know that all of the times we shared were genuine. I understand if you have. Wendy hugged her and silenced her. I could never dislike you. Even if your objective was to murder me, our memories, our bond. No is genuine. If that was the case, you could have killed me at any point, but you didn't. Wendy smiled into the embrace and let Carla hug her back. Everyone grinned except Kurama, who had a tear rolling down his cheek. When you're done making me puke, We'll have the brat explain where we are and Mistogen's plan. Kurama spoke up, drawing everyone's attention to him. Come on, Kurama, I saw your tear, just like the last time. You're just a big old softy, aren't you? Whoops, Naruto took a step back as Kurama pounced at him, attempting to sever his face. Naruto began to explain shortly after. All right, everyone, pay attention. We're on our own until Mistogen arrives, and we don't have any magic right now. Except for Kurama, who settled for sweat running down the side of his face in a serious expression. This caused everyone's pupils to dilate in shock. Are you serious? Lucy was the one who questioned Naruto, and he responded with a simple nod. Lucy attempted her celestial spirit keys to call her pals with no success, while the others tried their own spells with the same outcomes as Lucy. Because this environment differs from Earthland, it interferes with our ability to use magic. And I can't detect any Aethernano in the air. Wendy spoke out and realized something was wrong. Normally, a world with no Aethernano should not prevent us from using magic at all, but this world also appears to have some sort of special property that prevents us from using our magic. When she peered up, the sky were still a little twisted. Or it could be the result of the anima that used to come from our world. That is possible. Kurama turned to Naruto, who had been perplexed by Wendy's statements earlier. Have we lost our magic for good, or is it only temporary? I believe that will be as long as we are in Edolas. Mistogen did suggest developing experimental drugs that would allow us to use our abilities. He promised to return later with reinforcements. Gramps as well. Everyone was pleased because the only person Naruto normally refers to as Gramps is Master Makarov. Has Master yet been turned to lacrima? Thank heavens, Wendy was relieved, but then she had a realization. Where exactly are we supposed to meet them? This made Naruto's face pale, which worried the others. You don't know, do you? Kurama was direct, which made everyone's jaw drop. Do I have it right? Naruto just scratched his head and chuckled awkwardly. They didn't say where, just that they'd find or us, but I'm not sure how. Everyone, including Naruto, sighed. I guess we'd better find some information, he said, then remembered something essential. Oh, and apparently we have identical twins, just like Mistogen is supposed to be this world's Jelal. He said it so casually that everyone's eyes turned like plates. Say what? Except for Kurama, who was expecting something strange to happen again, everyone exclaimed. Yeah, there's apparently a fairy tale that's a dark guild here. Naruto's casual demeanor didn't make things any easier. Natsu didn't take it seriously because he knew why Naruto didn't take the Edolas version of fairy tale seriously, despite his prior reaction. But, if there are already dark versions of us here, won't people confuse us with them? Lucy's vivid imagination took over as she pictured herself as an evil wizard, complete with bondage and lashing everyone to death. Also, stop saying things that are shocking as if they are normal. Don't you understand, Luce? The kingdom stole our allies and turned them into the bad guys. If they determine the rules here, fairy tale will be their foes. What Natsu said made logic, which was surprising given Naruto and Natsu's lack of critical thinking skills outside of battle. I mean, no matter where we are, fairy tale is fairy tale, right? You're correct. At the very least, we don't have to worry about fighting ourselves here. Lucy had no idea how her remarks would affect everyone, as an occurrence had caused Edolas fairy tale to make another difficult decision. With Gray and Edolas Natsu, it's a good thing we told Gajeel to stay behind. I can't believe he knocked himself out with his own weapon. Gray remarked as he and Natsu disguised themselves, with Gray no longer wearing a large coat over himself. Tell me all about it. We'll have to sneak in now. Perhaps we can steal a uniform and impersonate one of the soldiers. First, we need to find a soldier on his own. I'm sure it won't be easy. Gray prodded Natsu and pointed to a soldier who was moving away from a group of other soldiers and towards a nearby alley. All right, scratch that. They followed him and saw him wince a few times. Stop right there. The soldier turned to see the previously disguised fairy tale wizards. Did they figure out who I am already? I'm not going to be caught here. He began to devise a strategy. I could only beat those guards in the palace due to the element of surprise. Right now, I'm still unable to fight effectively, and these guys are in good health. It appears that luck is not on my side. Naruto was the soldier, ready to defend himself. Gray pulled out his weapon, which Naruto immediately recognized, but he had to react quickly and kick the trash can that rolled towards them, which they easily avoided, but saw Naruto throw the trash can lid, which ricocheted off the wall and knocked off Natsu's flame sword weapon. Naruto then stretched out to catch it, only for Gray to react first and utilize his Naginata's freeze blast to trap it in ice while it became attached to the wall. How about that weapon, Gray? Naruto mentioned Gray's name, which perplexed the individual. So, the king's ordered you guys to come after me again. What did he promise you this time? The two former Edolas fairy tale wizards were now even more perplexed. Wait. When we were captured, the king granted the guild amnesty. Naruto, is that you? Gray and Natsu both removed their disguises. Naruto removed his helmet, revealing his scarred face. What has happened to you? Gray's tone was concerned and angry. Concern for his friend and rage at those who had done this to him. What happened was due to Knightwalker and her sadism. Even had such an effect on my vision that I almost didn't recognize your weapon. So, you've come to capture me once more. Where are the other $1 holes? We had left fairy tale. Natsu's words surprised Naruto, but his expression returned to one of stoicism. He had just one reaction to the statement. What the hell just happened? Naruto waited for an answer while remaining vigilant. If this is a deception, at least they've reduced the shock factor. I would never have helped everyone if I hadn't known it was Naruto. I was sickened by what the guild had become. So Natsu and I made the decision to depart and set you free. Though it appears you escaped before we could do anything. Gray explained himself, but Naruto did not believe them and had no reason to. Hey. Examine every aspect of this block. General Knightwalker will have our heads if we don't find that Knight Jaeger guy. Soldiers began to yell, and footsteps approached. Damn. Put on this cloak, Naruto. Gray pulled out an extra cloak and attempted to hand it to Naruto. As Naruto was still apprehensive of them, the keyword was being attempted. Please, if not for us, at least for Wendy. Despite Naruto's perseverance, his eyes widened when Wendy was named. Fine. Naruto took it while removing most of his armor and tossed it into another garbage container. They walked out of the alley with the two. There's a hidden base in the city, follow me. He spoke to them in hushed tones as they evaded more soldiers. Gajeel already took us there. Natsu responded, and they all used the throng to hide from additional troops who were arriving to search for Naruto. That. Okay, then we'll just meet at the bottom. I intend to strangle Gajeel. Naruto left no space for debate as they parted ways, but not before Gray presented Naruto with a canister. Do you know what this is? That canister is a weapon that will unleash powerful winds to blast away anyone who causes you difficulty. You never know when you'll have to battle to get away, and in your current state, you can barely hold your own. Naruto nodded to Gray, and the three parted ways. I saw the anima activate earlier, so I'm probably too late. But if I move quickly enough, I may be able to save them before they are utilized as a power source. First and foremost, I require my weapons, and this time I am not alone. Naruto silently smiled beneath his cloak. I guess I've got two family members back. He began to take shortcuts to escape soldiers, but he was careful not to overdo it. He was well known among the slum dwellers and noticed two soldiers patrolling. Do you have any spare change? An elderly lady was begging, her frail hand extended, only for the soldier to kick her and cause her to cough severely. The soldiers aimed their spears at her, but Naruto blew them away with the canister. Meanwhile, with Wendy, soon before Naruto's attack. Despite the fact that this metropolis is the pride and joy of the kingdom, there are still people suffering. Because we sold out. We lost our way, no one is left to fight for them. At least, most of us. She was undoubtedly thinking about Gray and Natsu leaving the guild to assist Naruto. When did we all turn into such cowards, and why didn't I join them? She wanted to make amends and be reunited with the one she loved. You stupid hag. Nobody wants people like you here. Wendy heard and saw the two guards poised to attack the elderly beggar, only to be blown aside by a whirlwind. Wendy noticed a veiled figure wielding a magical weapon. However, the hood of his cloak fell off, revealing his face until he swiftly pulled it back over his head. And Naruto. She observed Naruto helping the beggar and handed her some money. Get out of here quickly before they wake up. Before departing, he told her softly, with the old lady saying, "Bless you for his nice deed. I'm delighted the guard whose uniform I stole had cash on him. After this is all over, I'll be able to focus on helping the people of Edolas and maybe giving them a better life." Did Naruto manage to flee? I must follow him. She started following him and made a decision. I shall ask his forgiveness. Even if he refuses, it is the least I can do to set things right. She followed him along another alley, only to have Naruto turn around and pull out the canister. What exactly do you want? Naruto's demeanor was severe, yet his thoughts were jumbled. How come she always manages to wreck my plans? She has no business being here. Naruto also realized there was no use in disguising his face as he remembered how his hood had come off after blasting the troops earlier. She noticed my face, no question about it. Else, she wouldn't have tried to follow me. I just knew it was you. She crept closer, her fingers extended to touch his cheek. Naruto stepped back and yelled at her. Come back. Or else I'll shoot, he cautioned her, but she kept approaching him, Naruto's grim demeanor was fading, and his hand began to shake. I can't harm her no matter what she did to me, no matter if she betrayed me. He was so engrossed in his thoughts that it was too late when Wendy touched his cheek and brought him back to reality. He flinched at her touch till the ache was away and all he could feel was her soft touch. She couldn't finish because voices could be heard. Naruto donned his cloak and moved away from her. The soldiers are looking for me. If they find you with me, you're in big trouble. Gajeel, Natsu, and Gray will be present at my base. Remain close. Naruto ran off without giving her a chance to respond, but she followed him nevertheless. He's hobbling, and those wounds on his face. He's been tortured. She shook those ideas from her mind and resolved to inquire about them later. She also kept an eye out for guards till they arrived at their location. From the inside, that was very embarrassing. Gajeel sat down with a massive bruise on top of his head as Natsu and Gray panicked. They glanced towards the door when they heard footsteps. It was kicked open, only for Wendy and Naruto to appear, surprising them both. I suppose I rubbed off on you, making such a stunning debut. Naruto's tone was similar to that of his Earthland counterpart, much lighter than what he typically transmits. You and I have been best friends since we were children, so it's only natural that I've picked up some of your habits. She couldn't say anything else since the other three pointed their swords towards her, only for Naruto to step in front of them. Calm down. I'd like to hear her out, he told them with assurance. Alone. They exchanged glances and left, knowing that the two needed some space, though Gajeel warned him to be cautious because he did not trust Wendy, or at least not as much as Natsu and Gray did. They were now outside the room, giving the lovebird some space. You two keep an eye on her and make sure she doesn't try anything while I gather information outside. The king undoubtedly desires Naruto's head, and this time Naruto does not have the luxury of concealing his identity. Gajeel walked away as the other two stood guard. Can you tell me what you want from me now? He asked her as he removed his cloak and sat on a chair, looked at her carefully. That look, notwithstanding what I said earlier, is exactly like at the palace. She then performed something unexpected by Naruto. She had gotten down on her hands and knees and was bowing to him. Listen to the fairy tale Ost fairy tale main theme slow version. Wendy was sobbing and shaking. Naruto moved instinctively and embraced Wendy, burying her face in his chest. Naruto caressed her hair, soothing her. I'm sorry. Naruto didn't understand what she was apologizing for, so she barely made it out. Naruto then let go of her and wiped her tears away, handing her his cloak to blow her nose. She did as she was told and cleansed her face, though she was still sniffling. Wait. Please allow me to clarify. Was it merely to apologize to me that you followed me all the way here? Wendy only nodded her head, unable to form the words in her mouth for him. She then held Naruto once again, clutching him as if he were her lifeline. If I could go back in time and prevent us from turning you over, I would. She got her bearings and finally spoke. End of Ost. Do you think I'm mad at you for handing me over to that crazy king? He sighed as he let go of her and she responded with a hesitant nod. I'm not mad, just disappointed. She lowered her gaze. I see, we did sell you out. That's not it. Naruto stood up and turned away from her. Allow me to ask you a question. Would you still be sorry if I wasn't Knight Jaeger? Wendy was stunned to stillness, and she responded honestly, this time looking up at him. While I would feel bad for that person, it's a different story when it's you. She reverted to her regular frigid demeanor, albeit Naruto thought she was only giving him half an answer. I see. At least you're not utterly heartless. Naruto wasn't expecting Wendy to squint at him, followed by pouting lips. You were thinking that I'm not completely heartless, weren't you? She glanced at him accusingly, causing Naruto to shudder in a ridiculous way. Then you'll be surprised because you'll say, how did you know what I was thinking? Listen to Fairy Tale Ost Mirajane, Lisana themes. How did you know exactly what I was thinking? Naruto was astonished, and then he smiled. I see I had an effect on you. Hee. Naruto chuckled a little, infecting Wendy, who put her palm in her mouth and giggled along with him. I didn't want to turn over anyone, least of all you. She paused her laughter and turned away, embarrassed. Do you hate the guild? Most importantly, do you despise me? No, I don't hate the guild. He then moved her face back to his and did something that even Wendy was astonished by. He rested his brow on top of hers. And I could never despise you. Wendy's eyes welled up with tears, and she sobbed again, this time onto Naruto's shoulder. Just like when we were kids, she says. Except I was the one who was crying. Flashback. And don't ever come back. Wendy and Naruto, both 10, were covered in mud and bruises after successfully beating up 3 larger lads. Naruto was now in tears since the 3 bullies had murdered an innocent fox. I didn't do anything to them. They simply kept beating it till it died. Naruto drew his forearm in front of his eyes, causing some snot to fall. Wendy then turned around and hugged him from behind, which astonished him. "It's okay, you can cry all you want." He turned around and held her, crying into her. She told him, "You're far too sweet for your own good. Never, ever change." Flashback and end of Ost. "You were always kind, even to those who harmed you." Wendy had stopped crying and wiped her tears away. Naruto let her go and stood up again. "Please excuse me while I change into something a little less militant and more stylish." Wendy laughed as he winked at her. He entered another room and began to change, only to yell in pain for a split second, causing Wendy to become concerned and kick the door open. "What's up?" She came to a halt when she observed the state of his back, which was still hurting in the areas he couldn't reach. Naruto cocked his head and fake smiled. "Sorry, I just reacted to the small scratches on my back, they still sting a little." He tried to mask his anguished expression, and it worked on outsiders, but Wendy knew better. "You still haven't recovered from their torture, haven't you?" It was more of a charge than an inquiry. Naruto didn't respond straight away since he didn't need to because Wendy had already spoken. "Do you have any bandages or medicines? I can't abandon you in this state." She stared at him when he tried to protest. "They're down the hall, the first door to your right. We're like an old married couple." He had no idea Wendy was thinking the same thing, as they both looked away from each other, blushing from being mistaken for a married couple. Wendy exited the room and was met by members of her previous guild. She was nervous as they stared at her until they both burst out laughing. "So, did you and Naruto kiss and make up yet?" Gray asked cheekily, surprising Wendy with his warm demeanor. Even if it didn't happen, his suggestion of Naruto kissing her made her move by them, her blush returning with a fury but not before decking Gray in the face and making him hold his face with his hand. "Ouch." Gray spoke in gibberish and anguish because Natsu was terrified of Wendy. Again. As part of the Earthland group, it's fortunate and convenient that Edolas still takes gems. At the very least, we don't have to worry about standing out. However, I'm concerned that donning these cloaks will make it easy for some random opponents to find us. Lucy was pessimistic, but she knew better because something horrible always happened when she teamed up with Natsu in secret missions. They have all purchased cloaks and other disguises in order to evade capture until they can figure out their issue. "Okay, so, according to the map that shopkeeper gave us, it'll take us days to get there on foot unless we can get a lift with a magical vehicle or carriage." Lucy stepped out since she was one of the few people in their group who could read a map. Wendy and Carla were the others. "So, this is how another parallel world's town looks like. Not unlike to other places I've visited in our planet. Oh, I wonder if meeting our twins will cause us to erupt." This drew everyone's attention to him. "Why are you guys looking at me like that? Where the hell did you get such a crazy idea?" Kurama was taken aback by his foolish buddy. "Of course, from a comic. In essence, we encounter our other selves, which is a paradox because the same person cannot exist in the same realm. If they stand close to each other, they will be drawn together and fuse before bursting. Instead of worrying about their adversaries and lack of magic, they suddenly had to be concerned about what Naruto said. They continued going and overheard a small gathering of individuals conversing. Do you notice that lacrima that appeared? It was enormous. It's downtown, and it appears that some military personnel have arrived." The Earthland group stared at each other and went to investigate. They were surprised to see someone who was not expected to be a member of the Edolas military. They spotted Erza, but unlike their Erza, this one had a sadistic demeanor and a sneer. "Re enemy is," Lucy began, and Natsu ended her train of thought. Erza. Finale synopsis: the Earthland fairy tale wizards were apprehended, but Edolas saved them. Naruto's gang, like canon, would save Extalia. Naruto would confront a hidden monster Edolas had imprisoned, and Edolas' fairy tale would change his mind and join their counterparts. Edolas would conclude similarly to canon, with one key exception: Lisanna's Edolas counterpart is alive, whereas Earthland Lisanna is dead. Years later, Edolas Naruto would propose to Edolas Wendy, and the couple would have 2 children. Naruto was also appointed captain of the Royal Guard. Riku would meet Makarov and lose in the same way that All Might defeated All for One. Makarov would die from his wounds, and Guildarts would take over as master for a short time before handing over the title to someone else. The end.
That's the end of the story, guys. Thanks for listening to this video. If you did enjoy this part of the story, like, share and subscribe for more, and thank you all for helping support, and have a great day.